Hello there, guys. RMP792 here. Sorry this one's a day late, but it was a bank holiday yesterday here in the UK, so didn't have an opportunity to record. I've been umming and ahhing quite a lot as to whether or not to actually do this particular vlog. To the point where I wasn't actually 100% sure I was going to do it when I sat down in this chair and put the put my camera in front of me, but I got some stuff I kind of need to get off my chest, and well, the 30 to 40 of you who actually watch these vlogs are actually quite good listeners, so as you will know if you've been sort of watching everything I've put out for the last little while, I have not been having a good couple of years, and I kind of need to talk about some of this stuff. So this is this is probably not going to be a fun one. I'm not going to be talking any particular any video game or anything like that. I'm just going to. This is purely going to be personal stuff that has been getting to me recently, and I kind of need to vent about. So if that's not your bag, absolutely fine. Feel free to suggest something in the comments for something you'd like me to talk about next week. Something that's a bit more fun and upbeat. Maybe a TV show or a film or a video game or whatever. Just ask my opinion on something, and I'll see you later. For those of you who hang around for the rest of it, everything really started, I don't know, 18, 19 months ago, something like that. Actually, we're probably coming up to about 20 months by now. When my grandmother passed away. And it was fairly sudden insofar as we basically got the call to say she'd gone into hospital on, was it the Thursday night? And then, was it the Friday? I can't even remember. But we basically got the call to say she'd been taken into hospital, and then in the middle of the night, so I was asleep. The parents just told me the next morning when I woke up. We got the call to basically say she passed away in hospital. And I can't honestly say we were that surprised, because she'd been in and out of hospital for years. She'd been quite unwell for a long time, so it was what it was. It was sad, but we couldn't really say we were that surprised. And that particular set of grandparents, my dad's side of the family, lived in Barrow in Furness, which, for those of you who don't know UK geography, is way on the other side of the UK to where I live, which is it's Durham. So it's about a 2.5, 2 3/4 hour drive, depending on traffic and roadworks and everything else. And there are always roadworks on the way there every single time. It just depends how bad they are as to how badly you slowed down. So it's not an easy journey to make. It's it's basically a leave early in the morning, get there sort of 11, 12 o'clock ish, and then leave at about 5. We can only really be there for about 5, 6 hours. Otherwise, otherwise it's a case of we basically actually have to get a hotel over there or something like that, which we have had to do on occasion. So I basically, we went over. I basically stayed with my granddad for a week, just keep an eye on him, make sure he was all right. And then then we had the funeral and everything else, and then we brought him back here with us for a bit. And again, he was here with us for about a week until we were reasonably confident he was okay. Then we headed back along, and that was that. Which was then the hell was next in the cavalcade of what the hell was it? Was the next bit? I think the next bit was Mum's cancer. And was it? No. I can't even remember the goddamn order at this point. But anyway, somewhere along the way, yeah, I remember the order now. So yeah, so about 6-ish months later, my other granddad, so my mum's side of the family, basically, he about a year before that, he had a urinary infection, which sort of really knocked him for six because they really can do for old people. He never completely recovered from that. He was always a lot weaker after that than he was before. And he started to feel a bit dodgy again, so he booked himself a doctor's appointment for 3 weeks after that particular time. And we basically said, no, you're feeling ill. Get one much sooner. And of course he didn't want to make a fuss, and you know how some people can be. But eventually we managed to get a doctor to come out and look at him, and they sort of went, not happy about this. See how he is in the morning, but we might have to take him to A&E. He was a lot worse the following morning, so they took him into A&E, and they admitted him. And sorry. And while we were there, they they mentioned things like not resuscitating him if something should happen. So we kind of knew then that it wasn't going to be good. The next day, they basically confirmed that he'd had a stroke. It wasn't good, but he was alive, and he was very easily confused at that point. But they were confident that they could help. They eventually transferred him to a specialist stroke unit at a different hospital. So there was a lot of back and forth. To go visit him, and to take my gran to go visit him because she couldn't drive. So it was usually me playing chauffeur, or sometimes it was my mum, or So we did our best to sort of go and visit him, twice a day effectively. So I'd go along with gran in the afternoon, and then mum would go on her way back from work in the evening or something along those lines. And he was there for a while, and he seemed to be getting better. And then we got a message, or we got a phone call from them to basically say he'd had another stroke. And that was kind of it. I mean, that was on the Saturday, Sunday. That was at the weekend. They ended up bringing him back to Dryburn Hospital, which is my local hospital. Well, technically it's the University Hospital in North Durham, but it used to be Dryburn Hospital, so everybody still calls it that. He was gone, basically. His body was still ticking over, but he was gone. That same day, we actually got a phone call to say that my other granddad, the one who lives in Walney, had collapsed and had a heart attack. So they ended up having to fit him with a pacemaker. Meanwhile, my mum's dad, the stroke happened at the weekend, and it was Thursday night it was the Thursday night when he actually went, and we knew it was coming from the moment that second stroke hit. Basically, I still went to visit him on the afternoons, but every time I went, I said goodbye because I knew it could well be the last time I'd ever see him. And on that Thursday afternoon it was. So yeah, so after that, we organised, we did everything we were supposed to do, did the funeral and all that stuff, and so yeah, that was a little over a year ago. That was last July. It wasn't long after that my gran, so at this point I've basically got my dad's dad and my mum's mum left. It wasn't long after that her memory problems started to get noticeably worse. She'd been having memory problems for a long time. They actually got it checked at one point, and they declared it mild cognitive impairment. it was little things. She'd ask you the same questions 2 or 3 times before the answer got through to her. Which it was annoying, but yeah, these things you deal with. But losing him seemed to make her a lot worse, and we're not sure if it's the fact that she's now spending a lot of time alone. Whereas of course she wasn't used. She's not used to that, or if he was just effectively hiding how bad she was getting. Because he'd do most of the talking when they were together and things like that. So we don't know. We eventually got her reassessed, and the assessment process took God knows how long, but eventually they confirmed what we figured: dementia caused by Alzheimer's. Somewhere around there is the point at which Mum got her cancer diagnosis. She basically went in for a fairly standard breast screening, and they found a lump. Not a big one. They'd caught it very, very early, and they were pretty confident they could deal with it. So it was a case of surgery. She went in the morning. She was out by the evening. The surgeon was very confident he could get it. And after the surgery, it was a bunch of radiotherapy. So it was a lot of back and forth to the hospital to get that done. And the because I was actually there for her first appointment, basically, because, again, we didn't want Mum driving to these things herself. So basically, either Dad or I basically said, we play chauffeur. It ended up being mostly Dad, because he basically spent a lot of that period working from home so that he could drive her. But certainly for the first one, I was the one who was on chauffeur duty, and the radiotherapist's comment was basically she was very confident the surgeon had got it all, and the radiotherapy at that point was just to nuke it down and make sure. So thankfully they caught it very, very early, and they're pretty damn sure they've beaten it. Her follow-up tests have been good. So she's now fine. She was back at work pretty much as soon as the radiotherapy ended, because she was itching to get back to work because she was bloody sick of sitting at home not doing much. So she's fine now, but obviously that was one thing on top of another on top of another. So that. So, a few of the minor bits and bobs happened. There was a minor car accident and things like that. Nothing major on top of that. And, Gran got harder to deal with, because, the Alzheimer's obviously is degenerative, and visiting her at that point was basically a case of, she'd ask you the same 4 or 5 questions over and over and over again for an hour. She wasn't eating properly because she'd, whenever you'd take her shopping, it'd be a case of, well, do you want some of this? No, I don't want that. And she wouldn't get anything more complicated than, bread and milk and some biscuits. And maybe some butter for that bread. So we basically had to start getting her stuff, even though she'd tell us she didn't want it, basic sandwich ingredients, that kind of stuff. Because if we let her make the decision, she wouldn't eat anything. Apart from biscuits. So about that time, we basically decided, no, we need more help. So we got social services involved, and we got some carers in to come in, and the primary purpose of the carers at that point was to make sure she took her pills, basically, because she's honestly, for a woman of 87, she's not on that many pills. She's only on 2 a day. One of which is. I think one's blood pressure and the others are anti-dementia meds. But, it's not a lot for a woman of her age. And, and so the carers came in and they did that, and it was fine. It mostly worked. Then, about, 2 months ago, 10 weeks, something like that, we basically got a phone call, because the parents were actually away that week, because they'd basically toddled off down to Devon for a few days. On the Thursday night, they got a call to basically say Grandad had been taken into hospital. They rang me on the Friday morning to basically say they were setting off home. It was the end of their holiday. They didn't have to cut it short. And he was in hospital, and would I mind ringing the hospital to find out what was going on? So I said absolutely fine. So I rang the hospital, and it took a little while to get through because hospitals are sort of crazy busy. But they basically said to me, he's comfortable, and he slept through the night okay. And we'll tell him you rang. So I thought, okay, doesn't sound too serious. So the parents got back. We went out for dinner, and we got this phone call at 9:30, something like that, where they basically said that he'd keeled over, and they were attempting to resuscitate him. And about 20 minutes after that, we got a phone call to basically say he died. Which was, it was kind of a shock. His heart had been problematic for a long time. Back before I was born, he had a couple of heart attacks that we were pretty sure were stress induced, and his heart started to go a bit dodgy again when my gran was ill because he was stressing out about her. So, let's face it, we didn't tell him when Mum got cancer because we were worried that we would stress him out again. And after she beat it, we basically decided no, there's no point telling him. He doesn't need to know. It's an extra worry we don't want to be giving him. So that. But yeah. So once again, we were in the position of having to deal with this stuff. So back and forth to Walney Island a bunch of times. Walney Island's basically just off the coast of Barrow-in-Furness. It's at low tide, you could just about wade over there, basically. If you've got a decent pair of wellies. At high tide, it's an island. But there's a bridge connecting it. So it's pretty easy. It's for all legal purposes, it's counted as basically part of Barrow-in-Furness, which is just it's a sort of small coastal town, city type thing. But so we've been dealing with all that business. And then Gran went to the hospital because she was getting weaker and having trouble walking. So we took her to A&E, which of course took forever, and just sitting for 4 hours with a woman who has to keep asking you why you're there because she can't remember. Oh God, it's dealing with a person with Alzheimer's it's hard. There's no two ways about it. Even if you only see them for a short period at a time, it's just so wearing. And especially the number of times over the past 10 weeks or so that I basically had to tell her that Grandad Harrington has died, because she basically either she'll ask how he is, so I have to explain that he's died, and then we go through the same conversation as always. Oh well, did he leave a lot of stuff? Do you have to deal with his house? And it's just, oh God, every goddamn time. But yeah, so there's that. But yeah. So they took her to a hospital, and they basically said, "Yep, urinary infection happens to all people." So they caught it a lot earlier than they did with Grandad White, largely because because we were paying a lot closer attention, and because she couldn't really. Let's face it, if we flat out decide this needs to be done, it gets done. Because while we don't have any kind of power of attorney or anything, because she's not in a fit mental state to sign it away. If we basically call a bloody ambulance, there's nothing she can do to prevent that, even if she. Because that's the other thing. For the last year, basically, since her husband passed away, since my granddad passed away, every time you see her, she talks about how she wants to die. She basically just wants to die and go with Jack. That's all she keeps saying. And how the hell do you deal with that? How do you deal with somebody you love who wants to die and knowing there's nothing you can do to help them? But anyway, on with the depressing story. So she goes into hospital and they basically say, well, the infection's pretty simple to clear up. Course of antibiotics, job done. But we want to send her off to concert to get a little bit of rehab. To help her walk a bit better. So they do that, and they basically decide she's going to need more care when she comes out. So she's going to need 4 visits a day rather than the morning and lunchtime she had been getting. To which we say, yeah, fine. If it needs doing, it needs doing. Trouble is, she hates her carers. She's reached this point where she's really, really complimentary about anyone who isn't there. So if I'm the one in the room with her, I'm a horrible person, and my mum is lovely and the carers are lovely. If my mum is there, then she's bossy and she should just leave her alone to die. But I'm really nice. I'm really good to her, and the carers are really good to her. And if the carers are in her house, but not in the exact same room as her, then she's really insulting about them. They're busybodies. They should go away and leave her to die. And just, oh God. I say the woman we're looking after is not my gran anymore. That's what this Alzheimer's has done to her. She's just not the same person, not by a long shot, because she's just depressed and angry and bitter. And she just doesn't want to keep living. And it's reached the point where I feel bad about how hard we're working to keep her alive. Let's face it, we buy in food for her. She hasn't been outside the house basically since she got back from hospital, which was 5-6 weeks ago. I'm losing track of time. So if it's what do you do for me? Where the only reason you're alive is the answer to that, gran. Because if we didn't buy all her food, if we didn't arrange for her carers and everything like that, she'd have been dead a long time ago. She'd have died not long after Grandad did. Because she just wouldn't have done anything for herself and she'd have starved to death. And God help me, I think she'd have been happier if that was the case. But still, the things you do for loved ones, eh? But I do not want to reach the state she's in. She's depressed, she's angry, and there isn't a damn thing we can do to help her. So, that's pretty much the current situation. I think I've hit all the high points. Yeah. But that's all the major stuff that's been happening over the last sort of 18 months or so. 23 minutes to talk about it. I feel like there's lots of minor bits and bobs in there that I missed, but that is the high point. As I said, I mostly did this because I partially because I needed to talk about it. I needed to get a lot of this stuff off my chest, and as I say, the 5 or 6 of you who will watch actually through to this point, are good listeners, and I say good listeners. Talking to a camera about this is actually a lot easier than talking to a real person, because with a real person, you've got them, trying to be sympathetic and all that stuff, which I do appreciate, but sometimes you just kind of need to get it all out in one big go. And I am not paying for therapy because I don't need it. These things come to us all, and it's up to us to grin and bear them. But it helps to talk. So, that's the situation I'm in. Dealing with Gran, sort of, making sure at least one of us pops in once a day. Plus her, plus she's got her carers, and making sure she's got enough food in, and completely ignoring what she wants when it comes to that food because she'll. That's the thing. If you put food in front of her, she'll eat it. We used to actually bring her along sort of once a month or something like that, on a Sunday and just have some food, just so we knew she was eating something. But she got so belligerent that she just didn't want to come. And we couldn't force her. But but I mean, the carers, if they put food in front of her, she will eat it. But I say, I don't know what to do about it. But it is what it is. So yeah, thank you very much for watching this, for giving me a chance to vent. And yeah, thank you. Thank you is all I've got at this point. So yeah, if you'd like to suggest a slightly less depressing topic for next week, please do. And until then, I will see you in future vlogs.